Hello Annabelle, hello Oscar, Grandpa here. I hope you're well and having fun, and it's lots of love from me and from Granny, who's just sitting over there in the lounge, and I hope you're having a lovely time and that you're enjoying school. So good. So I thought I might, and I hope Mummy and Daddy are well too, of course. And there is what we're going to have a little bit more reading from. The Wild Wolf Pup. Of course, you know the name of the wolf pup, don't you? The name is, yes, Shadow. And Shadow was Ethan, the keeper of the wolf side of the zoo. He slid some ice cubes along a piece of plastic for Shadow, and he was chasing after them. And when they started to melt, he crunched the tubes up noisily with his tiny teeth. And that was so cute, Zoe said, still laughing. What other games have you been playing with him, Ethan? Ethan pointed to a black rubber bicycle tyre. It was full of holes and bite marks. I tried to teach Shadow how to fetch this tyre, he said, but he was more interested in chewing it to pieces than bringing it back for me to roll again. Do you want to have a go, Zoe? Zoe took the tyre from Ethan and held it next to her. Shadow pricked his ears up expectantly, watching her. As soon as Zoe rolled the tyre along the ground, he raced after it, his tail wagging. When he caught up with it, he grabbed it in his mouth. Then he started shaking it from side to side, making playful growling noises and chewing even more holes through the rubber. There he is, chewing holes into the tyre. Very playful. Shadow's already been through 3 tyres today, Ethan told Zoe. Mr. Pinch walked past earlier and was really cross about all the mess. I'll have to go shopping for more toys tomorrow, though I bet Shadow will chew straight through whatever I give him to play with. He really is pretty wild, isn't he? Said Zoe. Ethan nodded. I think it might be to do with him being separated from his family, he said. It must have been really difficult for him. He'll have been used to playing and wrestling with the other wolves in his pack. Well, I've got some exciting news about that, said a voice from behind them. Zoe and Ethan turned round just as Great Uncle Horace stepped into the enclosure. What do you mean? Asked Zoe. Great Uncle Horace beamed. We found the rest of Shadow's pack, he explained. They ran away from the fire that destroyed their home and took shelter several miles away. They have a few minor injuries, but with treatment they'll be fine. That's really good news, exclaimed Ethan. Yes, and now they've been located, Shadow should be reunited with them, added Great Uncle Horace. And because their territory was destroyed by fire, the best thing seems to be for them all to come to live at the rescue zoo. That's what you were being so mysterious about the other day, when you said you had a plan, but you couldn't tell us what it was, Zoe realised. Great Uncle Horace nodded. I didn't want to get anyone's hopes up, my dear, he explained. I knew the fire rescue team in Alaska was searching for the pack, but we couldn't be sure they would find them. Zoe looked carefully at Great Uncle Horace. Even though he was telling them such a good piece of news, she realised that he was frowning anxiously. What's wrong, Great Uncle Horace? She asked. You look worried. Great Uncle Horace sighed. Well, I'm afraid there's a bit of a problem too, he said. You see, even though there were only 4 other wolves in the pack, Shadow's mother, an older brother and 2 babies, and we have plenty of space for them to live here at the zoo, flying them over will be very expensive. We're going to have to find some extra money from somewhere if we're going to be able to reunite the pack with Shadow and treat them for their injuries here. As Great Uncle Horace and Ethan talked about how they could raise the money to fly Shadow's pack over to the zoo, Zoe felt a little nudge against her leg and looked down. Shadow had overheard what Great Uncle Horace had said and wanted to know what was going on. Zoe bent down and, checking that Great Uncle Horace and Ethan were too busy chatting to overhear, whispered to Shadow, Your pack has been found and they're all okay. Shadow's big dark eyes suddenly widened. He let out a happy, excited bark and bounded around in circles, wagging his tail so fast it was a blur. Then he raced back to Zoe and yapped hopefully. Well, Great Uncle Horace and everybody else really want them to come and live here with you, replied Zoe quietly, deciding she should be honest with Shadow about the tricky situation. But there is a little bit of a problem at the moment. They're very far away, you see. Meep suddenly squeaked a warning as Great Uncle Horace and Ethan turned back round, so Zoe couldn't finish explaining to Shadow. The little wolf pup was suddenly looking very worried, yapping more and more questions, and then he began to howl again. But in front of Great Uncle Horace and Ethan, Zoe knew she couldn't keep talking to him and risk giving her secret away. Very soon it was time for her to head home for tea, and there was no other opportunity for her to speak to Shadow alone. As she and Meep walked back to the cottage, they heard even more howls coming from the enclosure, and this time Zoe could tell the wolf was feeling very anxious, and she was too. Despite worrying about Shadow, Zoe felt a little better when Lucy helped to put the finishing touches to a wolf costume later that evening. Would you like a wolf costume? Eh, Annabelle? With a big tail? Sounds very exciting. There, just another couple of stitches to keep this furry ear on nice and tight, and I think we're almost finished, said Lucy. What do you think, sweetheart? Sweetheart? Zoe looked up, realising she'd been thinking about Shadow and his pack. Oh, sorry, Mum, I love it, said Zoe, reaching over to hold the costume up in front of her. It's going to look brilliant. Zoe's mum looked at her carefully. You seemed a little bit down while we were having tea. Is everything all right? Are you worrying about how we're going to find the money to bring Shadow's family over to the zoo? So there's Zoe talking to her mum about it. And look at the size of the tail on her costume. Whoa. Yes, admitted Zoe. I wish I could think of a good way to raise lots of money. I just don't know what to do. Lucy nodded. I know, Zoe. I wish I could think of something too. I've got my birthday money in my piggy bank, offered Zoe, but it's not very much. Lucy smiled at her. That's very generous of you, Zoe. And every penny helps when you add them up. I bet there would be lots of people who'd give a little bit of money to help bring the rest of Shadow's pack over, if they only knew about their situation and the help they need. She sighed thoughtfully as she sewed the last few stitches into Zoe's costume. What we really need is to gather lots of people together in one place all at once so that we can tell them the story of Shadow and his family. Zoe looked at her mum. Wait, I think I've got an idea. The concert at the Spooktacular. What if we make it a charity performance? We could explain about Shadow before we sing our song. Then if people like our singing and want to help Shadow and his pack, they could put some money in a bucket, and we can put it all towards paying for Shadow's family to join him here at the zoo, where we can look after them all properly. Lucy beamed at Zoe. That is a brilliant idea, she said. I think Great Uncle Horace will love it. Zoe nodded. Now I just need to ask one more person, she said. Miss Hawkins. Now we're on to Chapter 7. The Spooktacular begins. Whoa. Mum, Mum, cried Zoe as she ran out into the school playground to meet Lucy. Miss Hawkins said yes. That's fantastic news, Zoe, Lucy replied, smiling. Well done. As soon as Zoe had arrived at school that morning, she'd gone straight up to Miss Hawkins and explained her idea. She'd even brought in a photo of Shadow that Lucy had taken on her phone and printed out for Zoe. Miss Hawkins had agreed immediately. I think that's a wonderful suggestion, she told Zoe. Let's tell the rest of the class after I've taken the register. She'd even asked Zoe if she could keep the picture of Shadow. I'll pin him up on the class notice board so everyone can see the little fellow we're trying to help, she explained. All day, Zoe had been desperate for the last bell to ring. When it did, Miss Hawkins clapped her hands and called, all right, everybody, time to go home. Remember, your parents or guardians need to bring you to the rescue zoo by 7 o'clock tonight, and we'll be singing at 7:30. I can't wait to see your costumes. See you all there. Zoe had been so excited about her idea to help Shadow, she'd almost managed to forget about singing at the Spooktacular that evening. But as she walked through the playground with her mum, she heard some of the other children from her class practicing the words, and she felt a familiar, nervous feeling in her tummy. Just think about Shadow, she told herself firmly. This is for Shadow. When she and Lucy arrived at the gates of the rescue zoo, Zoe had a surprise. 2 huge bunches of orange and black balloons had been tied to the gates, and a banner had been stretched along the top of the entrance, which read, "Welcome to the Rescue Zoo Halloween Spooktacular. Enjoy our world-famous zoo and amazing animals after dark. Enter our fancy desk competition. Hear our bat expert talk about these fascinating creatures and come along to a special Halloween concert at 7:30 p.m. All money raised tonight will help us to fly a very special family of grey wolves to their new home at the Rescue Zoo." Oh, wow. Well, I think we'll stop there this time, and then we'll see what happens next week when I read you. So it's lots of love from me, Grandpa, and lots of love from Granny too, to you, Annabelle and Oscar, and Bluey as well, of course. I hope he's all very cuddly and not growing up too fast, and lots of love to Mummy and Daddy too. So until next time, bye.